Have you ever wondered what happens when the unstoppable force of a narcissist finally hits an immovable object? For so long, you've watched them get away with everything, leaving a trail of broken people. But there is a hidden psychological breaking point they inevitably reach. Today, we are uncovering the exact moment they finally try to manipulate the wrong person. It feels completely unfair, doesn't it? You sit there, holding the pieces of your shattered trust, while they just walk away untouched. They move on to the next target with that same arrogant smirk, completely oblivious to the devastation they caused you. It is entirely normal to feel like the universe has completely forgotten about justice when it comes to them. You start to believe they are somehow immune to karma, that their carefully crafted mask is entirely bulletproof. You watch them charm new friends, manipulate situations, and spin their web of lies without ever stumbling. And in those quiet, painful moments late at night, you wonder if they will simply keep winning this twisted game of emotional survival forever. But I need you to listen to me right now, because what you are seeing is an illusion. The narcissist's life is not a victorious march toward endless supply. It is a frantic, exhausting race on a fragile tightrope. And the secret they are desperately trying to hide from the world, and from themselves, is that they are always just one single misstep away from falling. Their entire existence relies on finding people who will bend. They need deep empathy to exploit, weak boundaries to cross, and forgiving hearts to manipulate. They are absolute masters at scanning a room and identifying the person who will tolerate their abuse. But this predatory radar is fundamentally flawed, and eventually, it makes a catastrophic miscalculation. This is the truth that brings everything crashing down. They get too confident. They get sloppy. The thrill of getting away with the emotional heist makes them arrogant. They start believing their own delusions of absolute superiority. And in that blinding arrogance, they blindly walk right into a psychological trap they never saw coming. They pick the wrong target. The wrong person isn't necessarily someone loud or aggressive. They aren't looking for a screaming match or a dramatic showdown. In fact, this person might seem quiet, observing, and incredibly calm. But beneath that calm exterior is an emotional fortress built of solid steel. They possess the one thing a narcissist absolutely cannot tolerate: unshakable boundaries. This person has already done the heavy emotional lifting. They know their own worth, they recognize manipulation from a mile away, and they do not deal in the currency of guilt or shame. When the narcissist tries their usual tricks, expecting the typical panicked or desperate reaction, they are met with something truly terrifying to them. Absolute, chilling silence. Imagine throwing a rock at a glass window, fully expecting it to shatter, only to watch the rock bounce right off and hit you square in the face. That is exactly what happens here. The narcissist's toxic projection doesn't land. Their gaslighting falls completely flat. They are suddenly staring at a mirror that reflects their own profound emptiness right back at them. And this is where the dynamic fundamentally shifts. The predator suddenly realizes they have stepped into a cage, and the door just locked behind them. They don't know how to handle someone who simply refuses to play the game. The psychological unraveling is about to begin, and it is entirely self-inflicted. The absolute collapse of their false self has commenced. To truly understand this collapse, we have to look inside their mind. A narcissist does not have a solid core identity. They are constructed entirely of fragile defenses, mirrored behaviors, and an endless, gnawing need for external validation. When they encounter someone who completely denies them that supply, their internal framework immediately begins to fracture. Think of their ego as a massive, leaking balloon. They constantly need other people to breathe life into it, to keep it inflated. The wrong person simply refuses to provide the air. They don't argue, they don't justify, they just stop reacting. Without that vital oxygen of attention, whether positive or negative, the narcissist's ego begins to aggressively deflate. Panic sets in. It is a primal, deeply unconscious terror. They rely on controlling your perception of them to feel safe in the world. When they realize this new target sees right through the mask, straight down to the insecure, trembling child hiding underneath, it triggers a profound psychological crisis. They feel exposed, naked, and incredibly vulnerable to attack. So they escalate. They pull out the heavy artillery. They might try love bombing again, pouring on the artificial charm and fake apologies, desperately hoping to hook the target back into the cycle. They want to reset the dynamic to a time when they held all the cards. But the wrong person just watches this performance with a cold, detached, almost clinical pity. When the charm completely fails, the rage quickly surfaces. It is a sharp, venomous anger born entirely out of profound powerlessness. They will launch smear campaigns, trying to turn others against the target. They whisper lies, twist facts, and play the ultimate victim. They are desperately trying to regain control by destroying the target's external reputation. But here is the brilliant twist. The wrong person doesn't care about the smear campaign either. They understand that a narcissist's flying monkeys are just extensions of the same toxic sickness. The target remains completely unmoved, refusing to defend themselves against absurd fabrications. This absolute lack of defense absolutely tortures the narcissistic mind. The narcissist's brain short-circuits. They are running a software program designed for manipulation, but the operating system of the target is fundamentally incompatible. Every single tactic they have successfully used for decades is suddenly useless. They are pressing all the buttons on the control panel, but the machine is completely unplugged from the wall. This lack of control forces them to confront the void within themselves. When there is no external chaos to distract them, they are left sitting alone in the deafening silence of their own deeply flawed existence. They are forced to feel the shame and self-loathing they have spent a lifetime fiercely projecting onto innocent people just like you. It is agonizing. They cannot self-soothe. They never learned how. Without a victim to regulate their turbulent emotions, their internal landscape becomes a raging inferno of paranoia and inadequacy. They start making critical mistakes, acting increasingly erratic and visibly unstable to the outside world. The perfectly crafted public mask is finally beginning to slip and crack. The observer, the wrong person, merely stands back and watches the self-destruction unfold. There is no need for revenge, no need for retaliation. The profound objectivity of the situation does all the work. The narcissist is finally drowning, not because someone pushed them into the water, but because they absolutely forgot how to swim without holding someone down. Let me paint a picture of exactly how this turning point happens. Imagine the narcissist sending that classic loaded text message. You know the one. It is carefully designed to provoke guilt, spark an argument, and pull you back into the mud. They hit send, sitting back with that smug sense of impending victory, waiting for the inevitable dramatic paragraph in response. Minutes pass. Then hours. Then an entire day. The screen stays completely dark. The narcissist checks their phone constantly, the smugness slowly melting into a frantic, creeping anxiety. The silence from the wrong person is deafening. It isn't just a lack of words, it is a profound declaration of absolute irrelevance. The narcissist has essentially ceased to exist. This is the exact moment the power entirely shifts. The narcissist realizes they are shouting into a profound void. They have lost the ability to infect the target's mind. The target's refusal to engage acts like a massive psychological mirror, reflecting the narcissist's incredibly desperate need for attention right back into their own empty, staring eyes. It is brutal. They might show up uninvited, trying to force a confrontation. They need to see the hurt in the target's eyes to feel powerful again. But when they arrive, they aren't met with anger or tears. They are met with a calm, unnerving indifference. A polite, completely unbothered stare that silently says, "You have absolutely no power here anymore. You are nothing to me now." Indifference is the ultimate narcissist killer. Anger tells them they still matter. Sadness tells them they still have impact. But sheer, unadulterated indifference tells them they are completely invisible. And for a personality built entirely on being the center of the universe, invisibility is a fate significantly worse than death. It is complete psychological obliteration. You can actually see the physical toll this takes on them. The confident posture crumbles. The arrogant smirk turns into a tight, nervous grimace. The mask is not just slipping now, it is being violently torn away by their own frantic hands. They are unraveling in real time, completely unable to process the total rejection of their carefully manufactured false reality. They will try to find new supply immediately, desperately seeking a quick fix to numb the intense psychological pain of this rejection. But the wound inflicted by the wrong person is uniquely deep. It shattered the core illusion of their absolute omnipotence. Even as they manipulate someone new, the haunting memory of their absolute failure completely consumes their mind. This is where the profound objectivity of human behavior becomes undeniable. We are watching a predictable psychological algorithm break down. The narcissist's rigid, inflexible coping mechanisms are failing under the pressure of a healthy, immovable boundary. They are caught in a destructive loop, repeating the same failed tactics because they literally know no other way. The wrong person doesn't even have to lift a finger. They don't have to plot a grand revenge or expose the narcissist to the world. They just have to stand their ground and exist peacefully. The sheer contrast between the target's quiet, grounded peace and the narcissist's frantic, chaotic desperation exposes the abuser perfectly. The absolute truth finally reveals itself. It is tragic in a cold, clinical sense. You are witnessing the collapse of a human being who chose manipulation over genuine connection. They backed themselves into a corner where their only weapon was discarded, and their shield was completely shattered. The turning point is complete. The narcissist is totally defenseless against their own profound emptiness. The fall begins. What does the actual collapse look like? It is rarely a grand, cinematic explosion. Instead, it is a slow, pathetic erosion of their entire life structure. The consequences of hitting that unshakable boundary start rippling outward, affecting everything they touch. Their meticulously crafted world begins to rot from the inside out, piece by fragile, carefully hidden piece. Professionally, they start making careless errors. The energy they normally use to charm superiors and manipulate colleagues is entirely drained by the obsessive, consuming thought of the one target they couldn't break. They become irritable, deeply paranoid, and quick to snap at innocent coworkers. Their workplace facade shatters, revealing the highly toxic person underneath. Socially, their carefully curated circle of friends begins to quietly distance themselves. The narcissist's constant need to play the victim, spinning wildly inconsistent stories about the wrong person, eventually exhausts even their most loyal enablers. People start noticing the glaring holes in the narrative. The exhausting drama simply becomes far too much to tolerate. This is the stark, objective reality of their behavioral pattern. They alienate everyone by demanding absolute, unquestioning loyalty while offering nothing but pure chaos in return. As their social support system crumbles, the terrifying isolation they have spent their entire life running from finally catches up to them. They are left completely alone in the dark ruins. Health-wise, the relentless stress of maintaining a false self without adequate supply takes a brutal physical toll. The deep, suppressed shame and the constant, simmering rage manifest as pure exhaustion, mysterious ailments, and a visible, rapid aging. You will often see them looking hollowed out, their eyes entirely devoid of that predatory spark they once proudly carried. They are literally being consumed by their own untreated psychological poison. The venom they intended to inject into the wrong person was fiercely rejected, so it had nowhere else to go but straight back into their own bloodstream. The universe doesn't have to punish them. Their own fundamentally flawed personality disorder is perfectly designed to destroy them eventually. You might find yourself feeling a brief, fleeting moment of pity. You remember the broken child inside them, the deep trauma that forged this monster. But that pity must remain firmly detached. Because the absolute tragedy of the narcissist is that even in their darkest, most desperate hour of collapse, they would still absolutely destroy you if you gave them the opportunity. They do not experience genuine remorse. As their world burns, they are entirely consumed by resentment, not regret. They are furious that they were caught, furious that they lost control, and furiously blaming the wrong person for their own complete self-destruction. They will go to their grave fundamentally believing that they are the ultimate victim of a terribly cruel world. This is why you can never, ever go back to save them. Trying to rescue a drowning narcissist will only guarantee that they pull you straight down to the bottom with them to survive just one more day. The absolute best and most profound consequence they can face is the natural, devastating result of their own horrific actions. You must let them sink completely on their own. The wrong person deeply understands this. They watch the collapse from a very safe, incredibly distant shore. They feel no guilt, because they know they didn't cause the storm. They simply refuse to be the shelter anymore. The narcissist's complete breakdown is not a tragedy you are responsible for fixing. It is the long overdue, totally unavoidable consequence of their abuse. So, where does this leave you? For so long, you wondered if you were the crazy one. They gaslit you into believing you were entirely weak, deeply flawed, and incredibly lucky to even have them. But look at what actually happens when they face a truly strong person. They absolutely shatter. The fragility was never inside of you. It was always, completely, entirely inside of them. You need to deeply understand that you have the exact same power as the wrong person. The fortress they built to keep the abuser out is constructed from the exact same raw materials you already possess: self-worth, firm boundaries, and a steadfast refusal to negotiate your own profound reality. You are heavily equipped to be the absolute end of their destructive reign. Becoming the wrong person for a narcissist is actually the ultimate form of self-love. It means you have finally decided that your deep, internal peace is significantly more valuable than their fragile, toxic comfort. It means you have entirely stopped setting yourself on fire just to keep a deeply broken, ungrateful abuser warm. You have officially reclaimed your sacred space. You no longer have to wait patiently for karma to deliver some grand, cinematic justice. Karma is already actively happening. It is happening in their deep, quiet moments of absolute terror. It is happening in their profound inability to ever experience genuine love, deep connection, or true peace. Their entire existence is a deeply exhausting, completely hollow punishment. While they are endlessly trapped in their rigid, objective behavioral loop of misery, you are completely free to heal. You are free to break patterns, to grow, and to experience the profound, beautiful depth of human connection that they will eternally be denied. Every single day you choose to heal and walk forward, you are proving that their darkness could never consume you. Healing is not about forgetting the intense pain they caused. It is about utterly stripping that pain of its power over your future. You observe what they did to you with the cold, objective clarity of a deeply wise survivor. You recognize the manipulation, you firmly catalog the deep abuse, and then you firmly lock the massive iron door behind them forever. It is over now. You will eventually reach a beautiful point where they no longer trigger fear, deep sadness, or even intense anger. You will look back at them and feel nothing but a cold, clinical indifference. You will see them exactly as they truly are, a tiny, incredibly pathetic tyrant desperately trying to rule over a completely empty kingdom. They hold absolutely no power over your soul. They wanted to destroy you because your brilliant light exposed their profound, terrifying darkness. They needed you to fail so they could feel completely victorious. But by surviving, by healing, and by transforming yourself into an unbreakable, solid wall of boundaries, you have become their absolute worst nightmare. You became the one profound thing they could never conquer. Walk entirely away from the wreckage they created. Do not turn back to check on the ruins. The narcissist's ultimate consequence is having to live with themselves for the rest of their hollow, deeply miserable life. Your absolute greatest reward is that you never, ever have to live with them again. The universe has perfectly settled the score, and you have finally, truly won. Let them completely drown in the shallow, pathetic puddle of their own profound making. You have a massive, beautiful ocean of life waiting for you to explore. Stop looking in the rearview mirror at a deeply broken ghost who absolutely hates the light. Keep your eyes firmly fixed entirely on the horizon. The narcissist met the wrong person, and you finally met your true self.